Okay, so we're gonna begin now. Sorry for the delay. Today's class is about Google Forms. So we're going to talk about Google Forms and why we use them. Google Forms in general is used for collecting data from users. So you can use that for research purposes. You can collect that data, for example, about who is attending a session or something like that. So for example, if you are holding a meeting and want to see who is attending the meeting, you can create a Google form, write the data when the event is being held and such, and then ask people to fill the form and say if they're going to attend or not. Another example is, for example, in research, when you want to do a survey to see the responses of certain people, instead of doing it on a piece of paper and getting people to write their data and then going to SPSS and putting the data there, Google Forms does that for you, and we're going to see how. And another example for using it is for other people to submit their projects inside your drive. In the previous examples, we have spoken about sharing files with you, where you would be the owner of the file and others would be able to see the file, but they would not own the file. So if the owner of the file deletes the file, it's gone. In the case of, for example, a project for a student, you can get the student to put their file, their video especially, inside your drive. So you would be the owner, and then the student does not control that project. I would only suggest you to use this for videos, because other than that, you can get students to submit their work through eClass. But other than that, if it's a video, the videos are too big, they wouldn't fit into the eClass submission, so this is the solution. Okay? Let me show you, for example, this is an example of a form which is ready. I'm going to preview the form. When we look at the form, this is the introduction page. It says that this form is used for you to submit your work. And next, we write our name. And here we have a place where we can add files. So we simply add file and then browse for the file that we wish to submit. In this case, the student submits the file and I become the owner of the file. Okay? So this is one case that could be useful for you. Some other type of questions, for example, are dates. An answer where you could get to write a short answer, and you can choose yes, I agree, or no, I do not agree. This should have been, by the way, circle instead of anyway. Another example is this one. This is used for an application, for an internship. So here is the description, and then we have space for students to fill out their name, their email. Notice these red asterisks. Do you know what they mean? Mandatory, exactly. So this gets you to force the user to fill this field. It cannot be left empty. And if you notice, we can see that there are sections. So you can think of getting your form to be organized, looks pretty, can be in order. We have another type of questions, which are the long answer, where people can write long paragraphs instead of the short answers. So let's dig in. If everyone could open up their Google Drive, we're going to try and do a form together. Is everyone already logged in? Yes? Okay. So to begin, can you guess how we get to start the Google form?
From new.
New, and then?
New Google more.
Yes. Because Google Forms is used less than Google Docs, Google Sheets, and Google Slides, it appears under the more. And then I choose the Google Forms. Good? Now the screen that we begin with is an empty screen where we have simply one question. Sorry?
Was it the blank form or the template?
The blank form. You entered through forms.google.com, right? So this is a good, actually, forms.google.com. If we go to forms.google.com, we can find templates of forms which have been already set up for you to use. Again, like we did with the Google Docs, these templates are ready that someone has created. And if you wish to create a template for your office, for your class, or whatever, you can create a template and keep it here. One good thing that I want to talk about is the quiz feature. We do not use it in Bethlehem University because we already have the e-class, but it is one of the usage of Google Forms. So if you do not belong to Bethlehem University, you can create a quiz through Google Forms. So let's go back to our empty form. The first thing I want to talk about is the options up there. Here we have the add-ons, and we will talk about this later. We have the color palette, if we want to make it look prettier. So if you can choose colors, or you can choose a picture. Yes. You don't, okay, because you did not do it for the first time, I guess.
No, we don't have the color palette.
Color palette? Perhaps, okay, so I think it's because you've never used add-ons. So I've used it all the time, so I don't. Okay, so if you click on the three dots, the three vertical dots, you get the add-ons at the end, and you probably then will see the add-on icon. Okay. Yalla, good to know. I forgot this. Now, just for your information, let's talk about add-ons. Who remembers what are add-ons when we spoke about Google Docs?
Google sort of apps.
Yes, that do what?
Do a specific sort of thing.
Exactly. So for example, if I want to limit this form to 50 answers, after 50 answers, it stops receiving responses. We can get this from add-ons. If I want to get the form to stop receiving responses, for example, tomorrow morning, because after then it's going to be, for example, too late, we can use add-ons. And if you want to talk more about add-ons, maybe we can do it at the end of the session. So the color palette, as we spoke, it's just to make it more beautiful. You can also make it more formal, legitimate. So for example, if you want to put the header of your organization, like for example, Bethlehem University, I can click on the photo at the corner. Here are the illustrations which have been created by default, or I can click on upload photos and put my own company header. So for example, I've used this before, where I have put, I'm going to use it, select it. It's stuck a bit. But this is a header that I created that has the word training, and on the right, our icon, our logo, and on the left, Bethlehem University logo. So in a way, it becomes more, I don't know, formal, and something is stuck. So we'll do it again. So we click on the color palette, on the photo, and my albums, and the training. Okay. And you get to enlarge the photo or make it smaller as you see fit, and then select. Once it has been selected, you can see it here as a kind of how it looks like, but to make sure you see the exact preview as the users see it, you have to click on the eye. So which brings us to the eye. The eye is the preview. It shows us how the form looks like once it is done. So if I click on it, it opens up a new tab with my new form. So you see the header, It looks more formal now that it has the header, right? So let's go back. I'm going to keep it open. I don't need to close it. I just need to refresh it each time. This is the settings icon, and this gets us to send this form to others.
How did you go back?
I just went to the former tab. So this is the tab, and I went back to the former tab. Once you preview, you have 2 tabs. Okay, so we are on the page which is called questions, if you notice, because here we create our questions. Let's begin by giving a title to our form. Let's say we want to collect responses for attendance in a session or something. So Google Forms training session attendance. What is it that, let me know. We went back to the former tab. Okay, so just change the title of the form. Now, underneath the title, we have the form description. Normally, inside the form description, we describe this form, why we are using this form. If this was for research purposes, we could write, for example, this is part of a research for blah, 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 to contact the supervisor, here is the information, and so on. Just as you write in a normal paper survey. So let's here write, this form is for you to fill to let us know if you wish to attend the session. Just write something simple. If I have an image that is related to this form description, I can add it. If we look on the right, this is our toolbar. The first one is called Add a Question, where we add the questions that we want to ask. Second one is where we add a title description, where we explain something. Third one is the Add an Image. So I can add an image, for example, if I want to describe this further from my albums. You can add something if you want, and select. If this is relevant to what you're doing. Now we've begun with the formalities. Now let's begin with the questions. Good? So the default question is this question, which is untitled, and there's one option. This type of question, if I click on it, if I go back, you see how this is minimized? When I click on the question, it expands. So click on the first question. The type of question is called multiple choice. Multiple choice allows the user to simply choose one choice only. And it has the radio button. This is called the radio button. If I want if I want the users to choose more than one answer, the checkbox, exactly. So let's click on this drop-down menu and see what type of questions do we have. Short answer, what does it do? Gives them space to write something short. Long answer or paragraph gives them space to write something longer. Multiple choice, as we said, allows the user to choose simply one choice, and they appear in order with a radio button beside them. The checkbox, on the other hand, allows the user to choose none of the answers, one of the answers, or all of the answers, or even some. So you can choose as many as you wish. And then the drop-down. The drop-down appears like a drop-down menu. Like this is a drop-down menu where you have all the choices. This is suitable when you have too many answers to choose from. Instead of showing, for example, 10 results from which you want to choose, you can see them as one. Click on the arrow and choose. So this seems more suitable. File upload. Where did we see this earlier? When we submitted the video, remember? So this is the file upload option. And the file upload option only appears within an organization. So on your personal accounts, you wouldn't see this. On your Bethlehem University account, you can use it. And only if you share this form with people from Bethlehem University only. So this is something that is, maybe it has some restrictions, but I think it's better to maintain your files within your organization. The linear scale looks like this, where you can choose, for example, from 1 to 5. Let's preview this. You see how you can choose either 1, 2, 3 on a scale. This is suitable, for example, if you have a Likert scale from 1 to 7 or 1 to 5, 1 to 3, whatever. Or rate our services from 1 to 10, 1 being very bad, 10 being very good. The next type of question is multiple choice grid. This is really suitable in research, for example, where you have a bunch of questions that have the same scale. For example, agree completely, agree somehow, nor agree nor disagree, disagree somehow, and then disagree completely. These 5 are the same scale for example, 20 questions. Instead of writing these questions 20 times, you would do this using the multiple choice grid. We'll see an example now. The date is for you to insert the date, and the time is for you to insert the time. Let's try each one, okay? So let's try, for example, to ask the person to write their name. Which type of question would you use? Short answer, great. So let's choose short answer and ask them name. If you think that the word name is too complicated for the person to understand and you wish to give them further explanation, no, I mean, I'm going to keep it as name, but I want to explain further for them. There's an option for you to click here and give a description. So if I click on description, it adds a further line at the bottom of the question where you can write very small, in small font, please write your full name here. This is a description to the question. It's not obligatory. You do not need to explain every question. But if there's a question that you need to explain, you can do that. So how did we do that? We clicked on the 3 vertical lines, which is the options, and clicked on description. Good? Now, the user will write the short answer text here. Let's ask them another question to, for example, insert their date of birth. So how will we move to the new question? Add question, which is the plus sign. So when I write add a question, and what type of question should that be? Date of birth. Date. So I'm going to choose from the drop-down menu, date, and ask them date of birth. I think this is very easy for them, so I'm not going to write an explanation. Now, their name and date of birth, for me, are really important. I do not want the user to go without writing them. So how can I do that? Required. So you see this, I move it to the right by clicking on the right, it becomes required. And the question has a red asterisk when I save it. So I'm going to do the same for the question before. And you see all changes have been saved in Drive. So I'm going to go to my preview and see how it looks like now by refreshing. I have opened up إذا بدي من البداية I go to preview. Let's close this. So the first time I click on preview, it opens up a new tab where I preview my page. So here it is required and it is required. So now the user cannot submit their form without filling these data.
بس انت بتحكي لنا هون انه رح يعطينا منظر معين.
شو بتقصدي في منظر معين؟
يعني شيب معين. يعني انا مثلا for example انه please write your full name here. يمكن بدي احطها مش سطر ثاني، احطها جنب name between two brackets.
بصير. The only thing I would say انه now this form exports into Excel. So the answers which I will receive from forms will go into Excel. What it does is it takes each question and creates a column from this question. So what happens is instead of having a column that says name, I will have a column that says name. Please write your full name here. And this is too long. So this is why they created the description thing. It's not that it's wrong if you write name, please write your full name here, but it's that when you go to Excel, you will have to rechange the headers of the columns.
إذا التصميم محدد.
Yes, to an extent, yes. To make it easier for you to handle the Excel file later. Okay?
The question was, can we change the layout? I think whether you can have like the label of the question and beside that you will have the place where you enter. This is fixed. This is how it's designed. So it's not.
Okay.
It's designed so that it's easy for users to use and build forms without complications.
Exactly. And I think it looks good when you export it. It's easier. It's easy to handle. And since it exports directly into Excel, it makes it easier for researchers as well to get their Excel into SPSS for those who use SPSS.
It would be alphabetized by the first name.
No, by default it is by the time stamp, which is the date.
No, but once you get it into Excel, if you just had them say their whole name, are you going to be able to alphabetize
Yes,
it
of
by
course.
last name?
Yes. Oh no.
If it's in one sheet,
No.
you
In
should have
that,
a separate
you would
first
have
name,
to have
a
two.
second
Yes.
name.
Two different names. And then in Excel, you can concatenate the name, which is put the cells together into one field. But to separate it, it's kind of harder. You could with spaces, but if someone has a double name or something like that, it would be, okay? Good question. So, next question, we're going to ask them to fill about their preference, for example. So I'm going to add a question, and it's going to be a multiple choice, and I'm going to ask them about their attendance. So choose session, okay, and then late in the options, I'm going to start writing my options. So I can write the first option is Thursday. I don't know, 5, I think it would be the 5th of May. And my second option is Friday. And then notice how it makes it easier for you. It has already suggested that you add other. For example, you're suggesting that we can offer the session on Thursday or Friday, or you can give us a suggestion. So this is kind of, you write your suggestion, so other. And if we look at other, I'm going to make it required. I remember there was, okay, so it's empty, so the user wouldn't see write other. They would write their own preference. So for example, they would write Sunday. They would bring us from our vacation. Sunday, 8-5 or something. Okay, now there's, okay. So let's see the preview. Now it's gonna show you the pictures. See, other, and I can write something and submit it. But this would not be uniform between the users. Now there's another option for you to write. Instead of writing a word, you can add a photo. For example, you want to ask the users do you prefer this logo or this logo? Do you prefer this picture or this picture? So you can add a picture. So you saw where I clicked. When I looked at the option on the right, there's the image. I clicked on the image, and then I'm gonna choose from my albums, or I can search. Let's search. Let's search through Google. I want to look for pictures of mugs.
How did you go to the search?
Okay, again. So I went to the image because the image will allow me to upload an image. And instead of uploading a file that I have on my computer or taking a snapshot, what does the taking a snapshot do? Of my screen, exactly. By URL, if I have the link, your albums, which are my albums on my Google Photos, or Google Drive, which is the whole Google Drive, or I can search. So I'm going to search for mugs because I am thirsty, for example, and I want to use this picture. And select. Now this is the third option. If we look at the, we have a picture because the form has become. Oh, sorry. The question has become for pictures. It has become for. I can now put pictures for the first and the second option. The third option is called option 3. I can change even the name of this option. So instead of, I can write mug. And now go to this and see how mug, and this is the picture of the mug. Okay?
Do you need to have text? You can.
No, you can without the text. So for example,
We can go in pictures.
yes, like this.
So maybe add another picture. Just to see.
Let's try this. I remember it was, so I guess no, we have to give it a caption.
Okay.
Yeah, it has to have a caption. I didn't try it earlier. Or actually, I tried the earlier version with the pictures. So we can also change all of these to pictures. Now, this is required. Let's say that I like this question so much, I want to have a double of it, a duplicate. Because I want all of my questions to look the same. So we have a magical button called duplicate. This is good when you want to have the same format for one question where you want to ask multiple, you have the same answers, same choice of answers, but different question. For example, yes, no, and maybe. So instead of writing yes, no, maybe, yes, no, maybe, yes, no, maybe, and the description and the photos and everything, you simply click on duplicate, and you have a duplicate of the same question. And now I can change, for example, the photo, or remove the photo, or do whatever I want. Good? What if I want to remove this question? Because it looks hideous. Delete. This is the delete button. So I'm going now to ask a new question. And I'm going to use, where do you think the new question will be? Will it appear before date of birth or after date of birth? Before date of birth?
When you added this one, you added it after you added date of birth, but you were on the question.
Exactly. Now I am on this question. You see how it pops out? So if I add a new question now, yes, exactly. See how it appears before date of birth? Because I was on this question. Let's try this again. I'm going to say this is the date, whatever. I'm going to add.
شو صار رجعت لورا ما كنتش كيف بنعمل له سيف
هو بيعمل auto save on its own.
انا بعرفش دخلت طلع لي شيء جديد.
Go back to my drive. Scroll down. Maybe there's another form. سفيها اشوف هذا. اكبسي عليها double click. Hi. Yes. You closed and opened up a new one. That's why. Okay. So now I am on the question called date. If I create a new question, it will appear after date. So here's a new question, and it appeared after date, okay? Now let's try the checkbox question, okay? Let's try to say, which do you, no, what are your favorite colors? I am writing it in British. So option 1 is blue and green and red. Now the user can write that they like the blue, green, red, or blue and green, blue and red, green and red, or all of them, or none of them. So let's preview this. We're in this question. Here are the colors. Let's try to choose green alone. Blue alone, I can choose it. Let's try to choose green and blue. And all of them. Can I leave them all? Yes, I can. Whereas in this question, which was what type of question? Multiple choice. If I choose Thursday, and then, oh no, I changed my mind, I want Friday and Thursday. I try to click on Friday, it removes the Thursday because I can only choose one choice. Okay? So remember the radio button, the circle, and the checkbox. Checkbox, you can have more than one answer, and the circle, which is the radio button, you can only have one answer.
Can we move a question before a question?
Very good question. So I was going to say this right now. So you see, when we pop out the question, because we have selected this question, we have these 6 buttons at the top, 6 dots. If I click on the dots, I can move the question wherever I want. So I can move it down or up. Can you try to move something? So again, you click on the question, so it maximizes, it pops out, and then we click on the 6 dots and we move it up or down. Okay? Now, before we try a new question, let's think of a scenario. We have a research where I want to collect data, and this data is so long. If the user keeps scrolling in the same page, they will feel impatient. They will kind of feel, I don't know where I am. So one good thing in Google Forms is sections. Think of sections as new pages. When you fill a survey, you normally start with the first page, for example, which is the demographics, or sorry, the description, then the demographics, then you go to the first type of question, second, and etc. You do not have to have multiple pages, but if it's long, I do suggest to use sections. So how do we create sections? At the end of the last question of the first section, this is the last question of the first section, right? So now I'm going to click on this, add section. If you look at it, it looks as if 2 parts have been divided. So I'm going to click on it. And now I have a new section. You see what it says, section 2 of 2. And now the first one became section 1 of 2. Again, it's the last button, this one. Does anyone need help with the section break? Okay, so after creating a new section, we give the section a name. So for example, I'm going to start with form questions or research questions. And I'm going to tell my participants in this survey that they should fill these answers by choosing their preference. So I'm going to write, please fill out these questions by choosing your preference, ranging from totally agree to totally disagree. Totally, okay. So this is my description. Now I'm going to start with the questions of this section. Now let's look at how this looks like in the preview. Reload. Now this is the first section. Here is my header. Here is the first section and the questions that I need to fill. And then notice now I have a next. Let's try to click on next. Can someone guess what will happen? Exactly. It won't let me fill it because some of the questions are mandatory, like for example, the date of birth and and for example, I'm gonna change everything to not mandatory now. Okay, let's change everything to not mandatory because I want to move faster. So not required and not required. Okay, one. Okay, the name is enough. Type save and then preview. Now I only need to fill my name. So my name's Tina, I'm gonna fill it and then go to the next part. And this is the second section. It's called research questions. Now I need to begin writing these questions. So the second section, I'm going to write a question about using the multiple choice grid. Let's try it. Click on the multiple choice grid. Now in the row, sorry?
That looks confusing.
It looks confusing, but think of it as rows which appear like this and columns which appear like this. So I'm going to write in the first row, parents should hit their children. Harami. Second, we're going to ask people if they agree or not. Parents should use obsessive, I don't know what, behavior with their it's considered British as wrong. So anyway, and in the column section, I'm going to write my choices, which are totally agree to totally disagree. So I'm going to start by totally agree. Second one is somehow agree. Then nor agree, nor disagree. Then somehow disagree and totally disagree. Good. Let's try to preview this. And we go here and we preview the question. The form. I have to again fill the name. And next. See how it looks like? It's really good. Instead of the user having to look at the same scale for so many questions, this looks more kind of easier for them to look at. And if we try to choose a selection, so for example, parents should hit their children, what do you think? Totally agree, right? Totally disagree. If I try to choose this is considered one question. So totally disagree. And then parents should use excessive, so totally disagree. So I get to choose one choice for each row. Does this sound okay for you, everyone? Let's try to write a new question, or everyone is on board? Repeat, okay. So again, I need you to think of it as these are our rows, which are the questions I want to ask, and these are our columns, which is the scale I want to use.
How to add the columns.
How to add the columns. So I'm going to write a new question here, new question, and I'm going to choose, instead of multiple choice, I'm going to choose multiple choice grid. Now the multiple choice and the multiple choice grid are the same, except that multiple choice grid, puts many questions into kind of one frame. So multiple choice grid. And in the row part, we write the sentences or the questions we want to ask. So Google sessions were informative. And second question is, the teacher was terrible. Third question is, Google looks is awesome. And fourth question, I am going to use Google Drive from now on. And now we should actually ask them these questions. Now in the column part, I'm going to reuse the same questions. What I should have done, if I didn't want to explain it all over again, was what? Duplicate the question. And just simply change the rows instead of writing them again. You see how duplicate can be very useful. So totally agree, somehow agree, nor agree, nor disagree. I was okay. I should have done totally agree, enter. Didn't write the enter. Somehow agree and this nor agree nor disagree and somehow disagree and totally disagree. I don't think the word totally is an option that you should write. I think it's completely, not totally. Totally sounds so American. Anyway, so this is the new question. I'm going to go to my form and preview it again. Next. Now I have two questions where you fill your answers based on a grid. Good? You can do your own, for example, questions for the students to ask them about something in class, or you can refer them to use this when they do their own research. You cannot count how many hours you would save by using this instead of doing the paper thing. And it's more accurate, because sometimes when you write from the piece of paper to SPSS or to Excel, you, I don't know, make a mistake. So let's stay. Now, next type of question is the drop-down menu. So choose the drop-down menu. And we're going to ask them, which hall do you prefer to do the session in? والله احنا ديمقراطيين كتير عم ناخذ رأيهم. And we're going to start by the options. So Furno Hall, Sansur Hall, I don't know, شو في هون, Brother Joe Hall, M001, blah, blah, blah. These are my choices. And again, I do recommend this when you have a long list for people to choose from. For example, where do you come from? The list of countries. Or which province do you live in? Or which city do you live in? So this could be very useful. I'm going to, it's saved. I'm going to preview my questions. And again, my name is 1. And here is my, which hall do you prefer to do the session in? So I click on choose, I choose which room, so Brother Joe, and I submit my form. Okay? And which is better? Do you think it is better for you to leave, for example, the question, which city do you live in? Would you leave it as a short answer, or would you get it as a drop-down menu? Why?
Because sometimes, especially here, they write cities differently. Like Beit Sahur could be written
exactly. So when you start looking at your data, Beit Sahur once with Sab'a, once with H, ones with HUR, HOUR, حد مع داش, حد بلا داش, حد كتبها بالعربي. So it's so much easier for you to give people lists to choose from instead of giving them the option to write freely, especially with these types of things. Now the next question we're going to learn about is the grid. Sorry, scale called linear scale. So the linear scale is a scale where the users can look at the thing as a scale. So it looks kind of easier for people to choose from. So you can start from 1. You have to start from 1. Or no, it's 0 only. I thought you could start with negative because some Likert scales have negative. Anyway, you can change that in SPSS. So let's go to 10, for example, where 1 is completely satisfied, not satisfied at all. And here, rate your satisfaction with the course. Can someone remind me where I can explain this question? Three vertical dots and description. So I'm going to write here, please give your personal opinion of whatever. And I'm going to preview this question again. I should remove the name now because I'm tired of writing my name. And here's how it looks like. So completely satisfied, not satisfied at all, and you rate your satisfaction. So this is the linear scale. It used to look like a scale that you move right and left. Now they've changed it, but it still looks good. Yes.
This is essentially one question, right? Can't you put more than one?
You would do it with the grid and put more than 5. Put the 10. Completely satisfied, not at all satisfied, but you have to give a name for each column. This is the difference. With this, you have the option of only writing the first and the last. But this is not always used, especially in research. This is not used. They normally use Likert scales, where it's either 7, 5, or 3, sometimes 6 with the even thing, which is not applicable. But it depends on the type of thing you're using. Now, let's say I have a question where I ask the person to write their email. Okay? So what type of question would that be? Short answer. Let's do this. So I'm going to add a question, but I'm going to change this to not required because I'm tired of writing it. Okay. So a new question is the short answer. At the end, I want them to leave me their email address. So I'm going to give it a description, and I'm going to say, please write your email here. Good? How can I make sure that they write their email and not say blah, blah, blah and submit it?
Oh, there must be the data verification.
Exactly. Exactly. So if I click on the 3 vertical dots and I click on data validation, it makes sure that this data is valid based on this. So I have the first option. I can choose that this data is a number or a text or based on their length or some kind of regular expression. So if I write number, I can choose the number ranging between this and that. Or if I write on the text, I can choose that it contains something specific or that is an email address. Do you know how it checks that it's an email address?
Yeah.
The @ and the URL. How does it check? By having the dot something. So
Does
we
it
can.
actually go to see that it functions, or it just goes by
No, it
the
just
sign?
checks that it's a valid URL. It doesn't go and check it if it opens up. So I want to go a step further. I'm going to ask you a difficult question. I want to make sure that the user fills their Gmail account. Gmail email. Or BU, we have an option, an easy option. Let's say their BU account. How can I make them fill their email address, which ends with @bethlehem.edu?
Contains.
Custom error.
Contains.
Which one? So contains.
Ah.
And you're really intelligent. @bethlehem.edu. What is the custom error text? It's the notification that the user gets when they make an error. They don't write the @bethlehem.edu. So you must provide your Bethlehem university email address. Okay? Now, let's try this. So required. And we're going to preview this. Reload. And we're going to go to the next question. So if you answered this very easily, I need to make my questions harder. So we're going to go to the last question. Email address. I'm going to write whatever. You must provide your Bethlehem University address. I'm going to write my email address, but at gmail.com. No. I'm now going to write thehasboon@bethlehem.edu. Now it gets it. Good. Let's look more at the validation. Okay. So we have. Let's look at the number thing first. So in the number, you can have all these things where greater than or equal. So it sets boundaries for the numbers. And you can write simply is number. So that it's a number that does not contain letters. And whole number, that it's a whole number and not fractions. الفواصل العشرية يعني مفيش فيه فواصل. So these are the choices for the number. Let's look at text. So text we can choose contains, and we can set what it should contain. So for example, at bethlehem.edu, or for example, what else would you at and a different thing, or without at, or maybe a name or something. I don't know. Doesn't contain, it must not contain something specific. And then the email address thing, it simply looks at the @. So if I write simply @ and submit it, it will accept it. URL, it looks at the dot in the URL.
It contains, could you do it for dollars or euros?
Oh, yes, that's a good suggestion. So you could put the $sign, for example, should contain it. Yes, good suggestion. Now, the next thing is the length. And there's the maximum character count or the minimum character count. So this is a short answer. So this is text. So it looks at the character count. And a character is a letter, a symbol, and a space. So it counts each and every one of these. And then we have the regular expression, which are, it matches something, and we have a pattern. Like, for example, I remember I've used this, like you have something and then @ and something. So it creates this as a pattern. Have you tried it? Yeah, I've tried it once and I totally forgot it. But this is good. The data validation is good. And I do recommend using at least the text thing with the email address, especially when you use the email address thing.
Often you get that double thing, you know, check if you've done the email correctly, they make you write it again.
If they, oh no, you would have to write a different question and then perhaps use the match exactly. But that would be a bit complicated. You're better off writing a code that does this. Perhaps there are add-ons that do this. where you have the same, like for example, when you write your email address, you want to confirm your email address by writing it again.
Yeah.
So perhaps there are add-ons that do this. Yeah. Okay, so we've looked at the data validation and the data description, the required thing, the delete, and the duplicate. Now we have one thing which I haven't spoken about, which is the video and the title and description. Let's say I do not want to open a new section, but I do want to split the section into two parts. I can do that by using this, the title and description. For example, this page looks too long for me. I want to go to this question and then add the title and description. Now I have a separator as if. So let's say part 2. And we're going to preview this here. Reload. I'm going to go to the next page. Now I have the research questions and I have part 2. So this is not a different section. This is still the same section, but it's kind of a separator for people to look at things, I don't know, more logically. And we have the option to add a video. So for example, I want someone to watch a video and then give their opinion on something. So I can add a video. I could look for it through YouTube. So for example, ITU Bethlehem University, because we have a YouTube channel. Subscribe to us. And then I'm going to add this video, select, and I'm going to ask people to then rate their opinion of the video. So let's try to preview this. Sorry, here. Reload. So next. And here is the video. It's embedded inside. And I can watch it. So, of course, we don't have sound, but you can watch it with sound when you have headphones. Good? Now, can I move sections? Like, for example, this is the first section, and this is this section. Can I move this section and put it above the first one? No. You can only merge it, delete it, or duplicate it. I have looked at this so many times, but I could not find an answer to moving the sections. However, what you can do is use this magical button. After section 1, what do? I continue to the next section, right? Wrong. I can choose something else. So if, for example, I had 3 sections, let's create a third section to learn how to use this. So I'm going to create a third section. I'm going to only call it section 3. I'm not going to do anything else. Now, after section 1, you see this is the end of section 1. Instead of after section 1 going to the next section, I'm going to go to section 3. When I save this, go here, preview this. Here is the first section. Next, it went to the third section. So this is the roundabout to solve this. One more thing that you can do with your sections is that you can create how do you call it, validations based on which the person goes to a different section. But this I'm going to postpone to a further session because this is a bit more complicated and we do not have time. I want to go to sharing your form because we cannot leave the form on our Google Drive. We need to share it. So I'm going to look at the settings. Let's click on the gear button at the top. If you look at the first tab, it is called the General tab. The General tab has many options, of which I can recommend the Collect Email Addresses, which does what? At the beginning of the form, it creates a question on its own that asks the user to fill their email address. So instead of you asking them. So it's easier for you. This is restrict to Bethlehem University users. What this does is that it makes the user log in to their Bethlehem University account before filling the questionnaire. If you have something which you want to limit to Bethlehem University users, you have to use this. And this is the default, by the way. This also will collect the Bethlehem University email addresses when the person fills their form. Limit to one response makes the user log in again so that they cannot submit more than one answer. So you do not want someone to submit, I hate you, I hate you, I hate you 700 times because they hate you. And then respondents can edit after submit if you want, or see summary charts and text responses. So if you click on this, the user will see the summary of what users have submitted so far. So they will see, for example, that 20% of the users did this or did what?
After filling.
After filling, yes. Presentation. The first one is show progress bar. It would look like a bar at the bottom of the form that says, for example, if it's 7 sections, 1 of 7, then 2 of 7, 3 of 7, until you reach the 7 of 7. This is good if your survey is long and you want to keep the person who's filling it in perspective. Shuffle questions order. This is good if you want to use this as a quiz. It shuffles the questions. Show link to submit another response means that at the end of your form, there will be a link that says submit another response. And here, you can give the users a message at the end when they submit. So you can, for example, thank you for filling my survey. This has been very useful for me, and whatever. Or you can get in touch with me at this email. And this is the tab for the quizzes. If you use this, it will give you a grade option and what the respondents can see afterwards. Now let's say that we have set everything as we wanted. So I'm going to show the progress bar. I'm not going to shuffle the questions. I'm going to show a link and I'm going to thank you for filling my survey. And under the general, I'm going to limit to one response, and they can see the they can see the summary charts. And I'm going to save. Now I have my form and I want to send it to others. So I click on the send button. The send button has 3 options, 3 general options, and then you have the optionals. So this encloses it into an email. This option gives you the link where you can share it with anyone you want. And this embeds it into an iframe, so you can put it, for example, into your website. So let's say I want to share it with people. I normally click on the shorten URL so that it looks shorter, because simply I like it. And then I'm going to copy. You can see here there's the option to share it on Google Plus and Facebook and Twitter. And copy. I'm going now to go as another person, log in, and I'm going to paste the address, and I'm going to hit enter. It's going to make me log in. Why? Because we've limited to Bethlehem University users. So I'm going to log in with the 5, 1, 2, 3, 4. And okay. And now I can see the form because I have been logged in as the Bethlehem University user. I can see the progress bar at the end. See? So this is 1 of 3. I'm going to hit next. And since I moved from the first to the third, no one is going to fill the second page. This was, of course, a mistake because we were showing you how to do it. And then submit. See previous responses. Nobody has filled the responses, but let's see how it looks like. So we will see each question, and we'll see how their answers, no responses yet. I wish you had filled it, but and then thank you for filling my survey. Good? I think it's easy once you get the hang of it, and it's really, really useful for collecting data. So I do encourage you all to use it, especially for research purposes with your students or for yourself if you're doing research, and for collecting data from participants or for attendance or something like that. Good? Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Isal.
How can they see who responds?
Oh, very, 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 very good question. So how can I see who responded to my, see how this magical button that popped up, one? Because one person has filled my form. So I'm going to click on it. Now I'm back to my form. Okay? I'm going to click on responses, and I can see a summary of the responses. For example, if there were 10 people who have, I'm going to show you actually, it's easier if I show you one form that has been filled. So for example, let's say the Google, what you had filled this. Yeah. يلا اوكي
هذا الفوق تبعك.
هون بدي اروح عليه and form, edit form. Okay, so this is the form where we asked you if you want to attend the Google session or not. Here I have responses, 29 responses. And you see it's no longer accepting responses because I had put an add-on that limits people to, I think 30 responses and a specific date, which was 1 day ahead of the session. So here are the people who answered it. This is a summary. Here is a pie chart of who wants to attend which session. And if I want to look at individual answers, I click on individual, and I look at the first person, and then click next to see the second person, and then the third person, and so on. If I want to get these answers into Google Sheets, I click on this icon, and I see my responses in Google Sheets, like this. But this is kind of a formatted, let's say, sheet that I did to see who is attending which session. So I colored it, and I did many things to it. And if you notice, this is the first sheet, a second sheet, sorry, a first answers to a first form, the answers to the second form, the answers to the third form, and the fourth form. So I have multiple forms into one sheet. Again, this is a bit more advanced. We can talk about it if you wish to have more information about it. Any more questions? No? Okay. Thank you. Allah يعافيكي.